It's January 26th. Substack has just received a ton of pressure. I don't know if the dates.
Before we go on, let me just say, for anybody that's listening and not watching, this is Rick just pulled up a tweet by Lulu Chang Maservi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So it's a whole Twitter thread. So we're gonna check this out.
Yeah, I apologize. Yes, I can do that better. I can not pretend we're only on video.
I always have to remind myself. So
yeah, no, absolutely. No, so Substack, for those who aren't familiar, is basically a paid writing platform. If you think of Spotify as listening, it's writers that go on and specifically get paid for their work, and you get specific subscriptions to them. And it's proven to be very lucrative for individuals that either didn't find their place at big places like New York Times, Washington Post, elsewhere. But as you can imagine, just like Spotify, when you allow any individual to put whatever they want on their platform, that can cause trouble for the platform on the whole. So Substack's getting a lot of pressure from the Washington Post, that did an article about how much money they're making off of harmful COVID information. And they respond with this. At Substack, we don't make moderation decisions based on public pressure or PR considerations. An important principle for us is defending free expression, even for stuff we personally dislike or disagree with. We understand principles come at a cost. Wow. So it's Twitter, it's 280 characters, but you already don't see the kind of equivocation at the top, right? I'm proud of our decision to defend free expression, even when it's hard, because we want a thriving ecosystem full of fresh and diverse ideas. This is usually what I call in virtual legality, and it's not like I coined it, the battle of ideas. That can't happen without the freedom to experiment or even to be wrong. People already mistrust institutions, media, and each other. This is one of my favorite of the tweets. Knowing that dissenting views are being suppressed makes that mistrust worse, which is just so massively true. It almost goes without stating, but we need to state it more.
Yes.
Withstanding scrutiny makes truth stronger, not weaker. All battle of ideas. We made a promise to writers that this is a place that can pursue what they find meaningful without coddling or controlling. We promised we wouldn't come between them and their audiences, and we intend to keep our side of the agreement for every writer that keeps theirs. I respect that writers on Substack are people who like to think for themselves. They tend not to be conformists, and they have the confidence and strength of conviction not to be threatened by views that disagree with them or even discuss them. And this is becoming increasingly rare.
Yes.
Who should be the arbiter of what's true and good and right? People should be allowed to decide for themselves, not have a tech executive decide for them. I wouldn't want someone to pick out my clothes for me, much less my ideas. The only area where we humans have a perfect track record is that we've consistently gotten things wrong. Every generation has beliefs and blind spots that make future generations aghast. It would be the height of arrogance to think we've suddenly become infallible now. If everyone who has ever been wrong about this pandemic were silenced, there would be no one left talking at all. And I'll stop it there. She continues on.
Oh my gosh.
But Substack comes out with the most full-throated battle of ideas endorsement that I have seen any of these companies do. And if you're cynical, I always try to tell both sides of the story. You could say, yeah, they just got told they got $2.5 million from spreading lies. And so you got a defense of them making money. But if you're not cynical, this is give or take what I believe about the exchange of information. And nobody's exactly ever going to match up with anything another human being believes entirely. But the concept that good ideas will win over bad, that transparency and sunlight is the best disinfectant to those crappy ideas, to evaluate them and shut them down, that when you talk about these things, you should be allowed to talk about them warts and all. Because you can't figure out when something's a bad idea if somebody in the interim is telling you, no, don't pay attention to that, it's a bad idea. You don't get to evaluate for themselves, and then you've completely delegated critical thinking to another party. And that can work in spots, but it's putting a lot of pressure on those institutions. And I absolutely love that tweet, as I said when we were going through it just now, about if you hide things, it looks like it's for a reason, and it makes people distrust things more. So I'm not trying to take away from Spotify's response. Like I said, I think it's normal for tech. I don't think it's a bad response, and we're going to go through it. But when you see what you can have as a statement from one of these institutions, one of these platforms, I think it kind of highlights the problems that Spotify and Twitter and YouTube have when you can see they don't have that same full-throated declaration. And so I looked at this as a very big moment for these kinds of statements. We'll see if Substack holds to it. You know, it's always the proof is in the pudding as things go forward and they have more pressure put on them. But I love this. And I believe this individual is VP Comms. So she's in charge of making statements for Substack. And I thought it was a good one. So thank you for
Yeah.
letting me figure out how to share the screen.
Oh, of course, of course. So I'll add this again, the statement from Spotify. But that was great. Thank you so much for sharing that, because that's I don't know how I didn't come across that, because
I think
that
it's
is so
only in
amazing.
Twitter form. I don't know that they have an official release, which is more likely to get seen.
Mm,
So this was just one that I don't know if I'd bookmarked it or I'd flagged it, but I saw it happen. I go, ooh, they are putting their money where their mouth is right there.
yeah. Oh, that is so refreshing to see that. And just amazing. I mean, I guess I had gotten so conditioned to social media platforms being like, well, we have to
Yeah,
do something about the
the Spotify
misinformation.
statement. Yeah, yeah,
You
no,
know, like I just, I was like, okay, I mean, this statement isn't so bad,
it's not.
considering all the things that we deal with. But like, but then again, why should that be the standard? Like, why can't we have more of these platforms be like Substack to say, let's compare it to some Supreme Court justices. There's a reason why Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes is the name of is the namesake of my first pet. um, Holmes over there is it's because of the marketplace of ideas. He said that the whole point in having free speech is to have a marketplace of ideas where you have them compete, and the best ideas will win out at the end. So you can't do that if you don't have something to compete against.
That's true.
So, but that's beautiful.